Have you ever looked at someone and thought, man, I wish I had their confidence? Maybe they're the person who speaks up in meetings, who starts the business, posts the video, walks into a room without overthinking every little thing. And somewhere along the way, you decided they're just naturally confident, as though confidence is either something you're born with or you're not. But what if that's not true? What if confidence isn't a personality trait? What if it's something your brain creates? Here's what I want to show you today. Confidence isn't luck. It isn't charisma. It isn't reserved for a select few. It's actually something your brain is constantly building or quietly tearing down based on what you think, what you repeatedly do, and the identity that you hold of yourself. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 neuroscientific-based tools that are going to help you intentionally build genuine and lasting confidence. And stay with me until the end, because tool number 5 is one that most people skip, and it's the reason why most people stay stuck waiting to feel ready to be more confident. So I've been fascinated by human behavior for years. My background's actually in social work, where I was taught and learned a lot of cognitive behavioral approaches and spent years understanding why people think the way they think, why they feel the way they feel, and why they take these actions that they take. But it wasn't until I became a life coach in 2022 and started to understand and do the research on the neuroscience behind lasting change. And what fascinated me the most wasn't the intelligence, it wasn't talent, it wasn't even motivation, it was confidence. And every person that I coached seemed to want more of it. They wanted the confidence to start, confidence to speak up, the confidence to leave an unhealthy relationship, the confidence to lose weight in a very sustainable and lasting way. And most importantly, the confidence to finally pursue the dream that they couldn't stop thinking about. And here's what I discovered. Confidence isn't something that you find. It's not something that you wake up one day and feel. It's something that your brain learns to create. And once I understood that, everything changed, not just for me, but for my clients as well. And it's going to change for you when you understand these things. So let's dive in. So I want to separate 2 ideas for you, because I think that confidence can be misunderstood sometimes. Confidence can be an emotion, right? It's something that you feel. I feel confident. This is why some days you can wake up feeling very confident. And then another day you wake up feeling full of doubt. Okay, so confidence is an emotion, it is a feeling. But confidence, here's the separation, confidence can also be a part of your identity, okay? That's who you see yourself as. If you see yourself as a confident person, then that would be part of your identity. Now, here's why that matters. Somewhere along the way in your journey, you adopted the belief that you're not confident. And maybe that went in the bucket of thoughts and beliefs. I'm shy, I'm awkward, I'm just not a confident person. And what happens when you have a collection of those beliefs that we could say are rooted in the not confident bucket is that your brain starts to organize your whole world in that identity. And how we know this is because of the reticular activating system, right? This is the part of your brain that acts like a filter. So every second of your day, your brain is taking in millions and millions of pieces of information. And because your brain doesn't have the capability to process all of that information because you'd be overwhelmed, your RAS decides what is important. And what does it use to decide? Your existing beliefs. So in other words, your brain is always collecting information and evidence to prove your old identity true. So if you grew up thinking you're not just a confident person, well, chances are for most of your life, your brain has been filtering out all sorts of information and only reflecting back to you what proves that identity true. Okay, so your brain notices every awkward conversation, every mistake, every rejection, every moment you second guess yourself. And it's not because it's trying to hurt you, it's because it's trying to stay with what is familiar, what's consistent with who you believe you are. Now, here's the encouraging part. Your brain isn't showing you the truth. It's only showing you what it's been trained to look for, which means identities were learned and they can be unlearned. So here's your first tool. This week, don't try to be more confident. Just notice your identity. Notice every thought that comes into your brain that says, that's not possible for me. People like me don't do that. I could never. Must be nice to be them. Okay, so you don't have to argue with that thought. It's just noticing that that is the thought that's keeping you stuck in that old identity of, I'm not a confident person. And what you can do is you can simply label it. That's my old identity talking, right? It comes back to the rule of awareness comes before the transformation. Okay, tool number 2 is understanding the difference between confidence and self-confidence. And there are two different things. Confidence answers the question, can I do this? And usually it comes from evidence that you've done something like that before or very similar to that thing that you're setting out to do. So my coach gives this example. If I handed you a jug of water and I said, pour the water in the glass, but don't spill, you would have probably a high level of confidence that you could do that. Why? Because you've done it before. Your brain already knows that you can do it. Now, imagine I told you that tomorrow morning, you're going to give a TED Talk on something that you're extremely passionate about. Well, suddenly, your brain has very little evidence that you can do that. And so what happens is doubt rushes in, fear rushes in, maybe a little bit of anxiety. And it's not because you're incapable. If you were going to talk about something that you're incredibly passionate about, just like you would with a friend, you wouldn't hesitate. But because it's maybe in a setting that's unfamiliar, an environment, obviously, we have the rejection aspect of it going on with our amygdala. But the reason why you would be feeling less confident is because you're stepping into what feels unfamiliar, okay? And this is where self-confidence comes in. One of the most helpful definitions that I heard through my life coaching training from Brooke Castillo is that self-confidence is your ability to go after something, to go do something, knowing that you've never maybe done it before, but knowing that you have your own back no matter what the outcome is. It's trusting yourself before the evidence exists. Okay, so back to the TED Talk. Maybe you forget your words. Maybe you trip on stage. Self-confidence says, it's going to be okay. I can maybe laugh that off. I will recover. I could still keep going if that happened. That's very different than knowing that you will succeed. So a personal example I can give you is I remember when I decided that I wanted to become a life coach. And almost immediately, like after I'd done all the research on like, this is how much it's going to cost and this is what it's going to require. And then I'm going to become this entrepreneur. And I immediately felt my brain panicking and negotiating. Well, maybe I should go get my master's degree first. I remember actually calling an old friend who had their master's in social work, who eventually went into therapy-related things. And so my brain started to do that too. Well, I already have my degree, could go back to school, I could start there. And then maybe in the future, when I'm more qualified, then I could become a life coach. And so looking back, those thoughts really weren't about education. They were about safety. My lower brain was trying to make me feel safe in an identity that felt very familiar. It wanted the certainty. It wanted the familiarity. It wanted the guarantees. It wanted the evidence before action. And that is not how self-confidence works. Self-confidence is choosing to move before certainty arrives. It's believing, I don't know how this is going to unfold, but I trust myself enough to figure it out. I might actually have to fail 100 times before I succeed. And I think I've got my own back if that happens. And in my opinion, I think having a higher level of self-confidence is a bigger predictor of whether or not you're going to be a success with going after your dreams versus confidence. Confidence sometimes can make you play small. That's why there's so many people reaching out to me saying, I want to change my career, but it feels safe. And even though I'm not happy here, I don't know if I'm brave enough to go after the thing. But when you have a high emotional capacity for negative emotion, failing is not a big deal. Making mistakes is not a big deal. Starting a business and running into some roadblocks is not a big deal because it's part of the journey, because you have your own back, because you have so much self-confidence that if you get yourself into that situation, you're going to take care of you. Okay, let's move on. Hey, quick interruption to the episode. I created something for you. It's a guide called The Identity Gap and a short mini training called The Disciplined Mind. I take you through a guided exercise in this training that will help you close the gap from where you are and how you're showing up today to how you would like to show up in the future. This is going to help you understand your patterns better, but more importantly, it's going to help you start changing them in real time. You can grab it in the description or the show notes. All right, back to the episode. All right, tool number 3 is letting your brain see the person you're becoming. And it's going to be uncomfortable for some of you, but I mean, it's a take it or leave it tool. It's not going to be the tool that changes everything for you, but it's a tool. And there's actually some fascinating neuroscience behind why this works. So every day your brain is constructing an image of who you believe yourself to be. And this isn't just mentally, it's also neurologically. So your eyes, they're not actually taking in images of reality. They're collecting information, and then your brain collects that information and combines it with your memories and your beliefs and your emotions and your past experiences before it creates your perception of what you're seeing. So in other words, you're not just seeing yourself, you're seeing the story that your brain has built about you. So now I introduce the mirror exercise where I want you to start using your mirror differently. Most of us, we only use a mirror to judge ourselves, to see our flaws and try to fix them or hide them. But instead, you could use this exercise where in the morning, you stand in front of the mirror, you look yourself directly in the eyes, and you ask yourself this one question: who am I becoming? And then you are going to answer it with identity. I am becoming someone who keeps promises to themselves. I am becoming someone who follows through. I am becoming someone who can handle discomfort. Notice that I'm not telling you to tell yourself something that your brain is going to completely reject. This is not affirmations. And if you haven't yet watched that video where I talk about this, you should definitely go watch that video because affirmations do not work. So you're going to tell yourself something that is true about you, about your identity, and about who you are becoming. Speak to the person you're actively becoming, okay? That's it. Tool number 4 is to regulate your nervous system before you renew your mind. It's incredibly hard for you to build confidence, to build those new beliefs, to even, do the mirror exercise when your nervous system believes that you're in danger. So common emotions that you would be in when you're not regulated are stress, overwhelm, fear, anxiety, doubt, worry, or any other emotion that makes you feel dysregulated. And because when we are dysregulated, our sympathetic nervous system is activated, that amygdala is all lit up, and you cannot think clearly. You shut down access to your higher thinking brain, the part of your brain that can help you solve problems. You don't have access to that when your nervous system is dysregulated. So if you're ever trying to feel confident, or if you're trying to operate from this identity of confidence while you're dysregulated, it's not going to happen. And I actually have another video on how to regulate your nervous system. You can definitely go check that out as well. One of my favorite ways to do this, to regulate your nervous system before you start rewiring your brain to feel more confident or to change the identity around your own confidence, is to go for a long walk. Actually, it doesn't have to be that long, but just go for a walk, be in nature, or right after a very hard workout. Research shows that moving through your environment creates something called optical flow, which is the steady movement of your surroundings across your visual field, which has been associated with calming your nervous system and reducing your brain's threat response. So tomorrow morning, go for your walk, finish your workout, wait until your body begins to settle, and that's when you can start rehearsing the new identity of who you're becoming. I am capable of going after this dream. No matter what happens, I'm going to have my own back. This is who I am now. I'm becoming someone who can do hard things. It's amazing how much easier those thoughts are to believe when your nervous system is regulated. Or, and another way that I like to talk about this, when you're in a powerful state of emotions versus a primal state of your emotions. And finally, tool number 5, build undeniable evidence. And in my opinion, this is the tool that ties everything together. I use this tool in my programs when I work with clients. It's very powerful, and I think it's the quickest way to change identity. And that is literally to collect evidence every single day, casting that vote into who you are becoming. So if we're talking about confidence, that's the identity that you want. What did you do today? Tell me something that you did today that proves to me that you're confident. Tell me something that you told yourself today that proves that you have self-confidence. Tell me that you have self-confidence based on something that you've done in the past. Remember, our brain is working against us. If you have that unconfidence identity, it's because your brain is just reflecting only that to you. It's not showing you the other percentage of evidence that you are a confident person. You have exactly what it takes to get to your dreams. And the mistake that most people are making is that you are doing so many crazy, wonderful, impressive things, but you're giving yourself so little credit for it. You're missing so much opportunity to build the belief that you are a confident person. So here's the tool. Tonight before you go to bed or the middle of the day, get out a pen and a paper and write down what you did today that proves to your own self that you have confidence. And then say to yourself, this is who I'm becoming. Remember, confidence isn't something that you wake up one morning feeling like you have it for good. It's a skill and it's something that you built. So as I was preparing for this video, I couldn't help but to think about one of my favorite Bible characters, Moses, because the struggle to take action before you feel confident isn't something new. It's been part of the human experience for thousands of years. When God called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses did not respond with confidence. He responded with excuses. Sound familiar? Who am I that I should go? What if they don't believe me? I'm not eloquent. I don't speak well. Do you hear what's underneath his words? Moses wasn't questioning God's ability. He was questioning his own identity. He was essentially saying, I'm just not qualified to do this. I don't think I'm the right person to do this. And I think that so many of you watching this are doing the exact same thing. You assume that before you can pursue the dream, start the business, pursue the relationship, or step into the calling that you feel that God has placed on your heart to go pursue, you think that you need to feel confident first, just like Moses. But you notice how God never said, okay, Moses, let's just work on your confidence first. Instead, he reminded Moses of who would be with him, because Moses's confidence wasn't supposed to come from Moses. It was supposed to come from trusting God. But then eventually something remarkable happened. Moses obeyed. He took one step and then another step and then another step. And with every act of obedience, Moses was gathering evidence. Evidence that God was faithful, evidence that Moses himself could do hard things, evidence that there would be help for Moses when he needed it, a companion, Aaron. And eventually he had the evidence that he was becoming the leader that God created him to be. The confidence was built by taking the action in spite of feeling afraid. That is literally self-confidence. Taking action without knowing everything for certain and trusting that you're going to have your own back. Or if you're a faith person like me, knowing that God is going to have your back no matter the outcome. And with my own experience, and I believe this, that the confidence that you're praying for, that you're just hoping that's going to show up on your doorstep, it's on the other step of the next action that you're being called to take, the one that you're avoiding. All right, my friend, let's bring this all together. If you want to be a more confident person, don't chase confidence, build it. First, notice the identity of where you're coming from. Second, learn the difference and remind yourself of the difference of confidence and self-confidence. Have your own back. Third, let your brain see visually the person who you are becoming. Practice those believable new beliefs to yourself in the mirror. Fourth, regulate your nervous system before you try to install new beliefs. And 5, look for evidence every single day that you showed up as the confident person that you already are. One day soon, my friend, you're going to wake up realizing that you already are the confident person that you hope to be. All right, if this episode helped you see confidence differently, please let me know in the comments. Which one of these tools are you going to start practicing this week? Which one gave you more confidence in building confidence? And if you're ready to go deeper with this, you should definitely come check out the Disciplined Mind 10-week accelerator, where we're going to work together on closing that gap between how you're showing up today and where you want to be in the future. The link's in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on next week's episode. Bye-bye.